Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout.
My name's James, aka FPL Drug.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad.
Better week in Sky?
Yeah, very good week in one of my teams.
Good.
So pretty happy.
That's all right then. That's what we want going into this podcast, and I think we'll just jump straight into it. As always, we do our kind of tier by tier review of the games. Might chat a bit about our teams, and then we've got some decent questions to finish the podcast with. So first things first, James. Friday night, it was Newcastle 1, Leeds 1.
Yes, it was, and it was a fantastic game, end to end, just brilliant to watch, really.
It was.
And you can sort of reflect it really at the sort of tiers for the goalkeepers. We've got 9 saves for Darlow, which is pretty impressive, and 6 for Meslier,
Yeah,
who was my captain, funnily enough, in one of my teams.
there you go. I mean, yeah, it was annoying in a sense that Bamford, for instance, didn't hit shot tier when it seemed to be Click obviously got 4 shots on target, tier 2 shots there, and Rafinha was the one that I think most of us were captaining. He got himself a goal. It's quite an amusing goal, a really good goal, but I think Rodrigo played a massive part in that. Got himself a shot tier 2, but then unfortunately taken off on the 67th minute, and I think it was at that point I was a little bit worried that Newcastle might come back into the game. Obviously, Saint-Maximin played really well, got himself a shot tier 2 there and a goal, and then eventually stole the man of the match. But had Rafinha, maybe stayed on the pitch for the other 23 minutes, may well have been able to influence a Leeds win, and had he done so, probably would have got man of the match himself.
Yeah, I think he would have done. Very impressed with him, and it was a shame to see him go off, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Obviously, he's got a bit of a niggle.
Yeah, fingers crossed this weekend. I mean, I think he's been rested for the cup this week, but presumably it wasn't noted in the presser that he's been, out. So fingers crossed we find out on Friday that he's fit and firing. I guess the other player to note, if anybody has gone Leeds defensively, you've been incredibly unfortunate with, Struijk sent off, Lorente injury, now an Ailing injury. The only one that really probably would have wanted to start with to remain consistent is Cooper, and then got himself tier 1 tackles, tier 2 passing again. It's not a bad shout, but I don't think I'd want Leeds defensively at the moment.
No, they always look like conceding goals just due to the way they set up in terms of their attacking play. So really, I think for this game, Rafinha's the kind of ideal player to pick.
Yeah,
Obviously, Bamford as well, potentially. But yeah, Rafinha's got the potential to get it all: tackle tier, man of the match,
yeah.
passing tier, goals,
He's
assists.
just such a good player.
But
He's so well
wouldn't
priced as
yeah,
well.
exactly. He's not expensive and does ticks all the boxes.
He does, he does. So moving on to the Saturday games then, and the first game, I think quite a lot of us have maybe got at least one of their players defensively, but they didn't perform this time round. It was Wolves 0, Brentford 2.
No, a bit of a nightmare for me. One team doesn't have any, I think, Wolves, but the other team, the one in the cash leagues, has Sa and Size. So that was a
Oof,
bit of a nightmare. So Size obviously got booked and went off at half time or just after
he
half
did,
time,
yeah,
I think
half
it
time.
was. Yeah, which was not what I wanted to see. Obviously, Sa had the opportunity to save a penalty. He didn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Did they both end up
Wolves,
on 0 points for you then?
I'll just double check, but I
Because
think, yeah,
yeah, because
is my answer to that.
I know that Saar got 0 points, which pissed me
Yep,
off.
yep, 0 on both of them,
Which
alongside Richarlison, who didn't play, Trent, who
yeah,
didn't play, all in the same team. So that team got really screwed over.
mad. It's great, and yeah, because obviously this was a weekend where we saw goalkeepers missing out. So Mendy missed out, Pickford missed out. It would have been great for Saar to pick up something. As a little bit of a differential, but yeah, it just wasn't to be.
Exactly, yeah. I expected a clean sheet from this
Yeah,
game,
same.
but it just didn't happen. Brentford played very well. Tony took his penalty well. Brentford don't look a bad side.
No, they don't, and I guess the amusing thing is the fact that Most of us had Tony pre-overhaul. Most of us got
Yeah,
rid
yeah.
of him during overhaul, and then yeah, now he pops up with a goal and an assist, and a man of the match performance.
That's a very good point. I think a lot of us just bombed Tony straight out of our
Yeah,
teams at overhaul, and now it's maybe not looking like the right decision.
nah, but hindsight is a wonderful thing.
It is, yeah.
All right, moving on then to a game in which we will inevitably need an Arsenal player to cover two single game days. And yeah, I think a few of their players have started to stand out as potential options. It was Arsenal 1, Burnley nil.
Yeah, another clean sheet for Ramsdale since he started in the team. He got saved here as well, tier one in this game from 3 saves. I mean, you'd like to think he'd stay in the team based on these last two performances.
Yeah, that's the risk. I mean, Ramsdale is an ideal option then. Um, is an Arsenal, candidate for those two singles because of the fact that he's often very likely to pick up save tier. Arsenal, do concede shots. Once again, here he's picked up save tier 1, kept himself a clean sheet. If you hit that at least once, it's what Palace and Villa. If they get that against Palace and you've captained him, you're laughing and you'll just take what you get against Aston Villa. But yeah, I think defensively, I'm probably more enticed by Arsenal at the moment for those singles than I am going forward. Obviously, Aubameyang, didn't even get a shot on target in this game. Pepe got one, but the others, obviously Odegaard, you're not really going to consider Odegaard and Sky. Was unlikely, not a player you'd want to hold. But yeah, I'm finding myself more looking at the likes of Gabriel and Ben White and Ramsdale than I am that front line for potential daisy chain moves, and it might even change my thinking because I had considered obviously the daisy chain to say a Kane, a Ronaldo, a Salah to an Aubameyang, and then an Aubameyang to Lukaku for his good fixtures. But I think my thinking is slowly changing just because of the way that Arsenal are performing. I think I definitely prefer them defensively rather than offensively.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It just feels like Aubameyang, if you bring him in for that captaincy, it just feels like one of those ones where it's just not going to get a return and it's going to feel like a waste of time,
Yeah, I feel like
a waste of a transfer.
exactly a team like Palace could really stifle him. And they've played particularly well, and then Villa, yeah, Tyrone Mings could give Aubameyang a bit of a hard time. So yeah, for me, I need to maybe see at least 2 or 3 goals in the next couple of fixtures before looking to bring him in for that captaincy.
Definitely.
Moving on to a game then in which we all, well, if you had him, you were captained him. Mo Salah, once again, stand out. Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace nil.
Yeah, strong performance from Liverpool. Salah doing what he does best, getting a whole load of points.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
5 shots.
brilliant. Obviously, a lot of us we don't have a bench in Sky, so it's a bit of a shame to not see Trent playing for this game. Obviously, he was ill, so you can't help that. But those that are on, obviously, Van Dijk have benefited massively from this game because
Yeah,
they've walked away with an assist, a clean sheet, while obviously Trent's not even played.
yeah. Van Dijk got himself a 10 pointer. He was only 5 points away. 5 points. 5 passes away from tier 1 passing as well. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, a lot of people are obviously on Trent or Matip because he's a lot cheaper, and both missed out on this game. So I think it was probably slightly frustrating, but it is only one game week after all. So both those players are probably likely to come back in for this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it's not like he's got a serious injury, so it'd be great to have him back.
Yeah, and then obviously the move that a lot of people were discussing was the Webster to Gallagher. I made the move in both teams myself. Gallagher obviously,
As did I.
well, exactly. Gallagher didn't pick up anything in this game, but to be honest, I don't think we were expecting it, were we? It's this
No,
captaincy against Brighton that we really wanted. And given Webster's injury, Gallagher was a good option to go to if you haven't gone Duffy. I know quite a few people potentially have, so there could be big swings that game. Whether if Brighton keep a clean sheet and you go Duffy, you're looking at maybe a 20-point captain. If they don't and Gallagher is involved, it could be a good swing.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great game to watch. Obviously, a derby as well. But in terms of Sky for this game, yeah, it's kind of pivotal, really.
Yeah. All right, moving on then to a game that you actually intended. Sitting in the home end as an away fan, that was must have been an experience, mate. But it ended up being Man City nil, Southampton nil.
Yeah, couldn't get a ticket in the away end, but I think City need all the fans they can get at home at the moment. Having said that, it actually looked pretty full when I was in the ground. But yeah, such an impressive first half performance from Saints. Played very well, didn't allow City to attack or even get the ball half the time, to be honest, in the first half. Played very well, could have scored in the first half. Nusi looked pretty decent. He picked up tackles here in this game.
He did, yeah.
Uh, Other than that, not much to speak about in terms of tiers for Saints, other than a good performance. City, on the other hand, yeah, very lackluster going forward. Didn't really produce anything of note, even when the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, and Foden came on. Obviously, they had the goal ruled out for offside near the end, but not very impressed with them. DS doing what he does best, though. Still came out of this with I think it was a 10
10
pointer.
pointer, yeah,
Got
Mr. Consistent.
pass in tier two, clean sheet, 75 passes in a game where Man City played pretty poor.
Yeah, and Cancelo as well. Obviously picks up tackle tier one, pass in tier one. Again, yeah, I think it's a 11 pointer there for Cancelo. It's not bad at all, but I think it says a lot about Saints' defensive performance and the fact that City only had one shot on target. It came from Foden, and Foden wasn't introduced until the 72nd minute. So
Yeah, I saw a stat like we were the first team either for like a series of years or it's never happened. I think it hasn't happened for a few years where Man City have not failed to register a shot on target in the first half.
nice.
I
Uh,
think it was literally a good like 5 years or so.
I was very impressed defensively, and obviously we saw Salisu didn't start, which was surprising. But it looked like Jack Stevens pricked up a pretty bad injury. Subbed off very early on. Salisu came back in for him, and I honestly think it'll be Salisu and Bednarak until is it Liankau? Probably may well come in for Bednarak. We've bought him. He's a good centre back. I think we'll have a very strong partnership in there for the future of Salisu and Lianco.
Yeah, Salisu was very good when he came on. Very impressive him, and looking forward to seeing what Lianco can offer.
Agreed. Yeah. Right. Moving on then to a game in which I guess the only player of consideration in Sky is inevitably Ismail Assar. I can't imagine many other people, maybe Trustakong for the fact he's so cheap. But if you were on Ismail Assar this time, you ended up with what, 20 points, 2 goals, short tier 2, and it was Watford 3, Norwich 1.
Yeah, very impressed with Saar. Kind of wish I punted on him in both teams, but I guess that's kind of the point. Like you do a couple of punts in one team, you do a safer team.
Yeah, agreed. I
But
went with them in my B team.
yeah, and he's made my B team an A team, basically. Fantastic performance from him, getting obviously 2 goals and shot tier 5 shots as well. That's pretty impressive. And I guess the only thing you might say is that it's Norwich.
Yeah,
So potentially, if you were not on him and then were to get him in off the back of this, maybe you're not going to be seeing a 2 goal return next week. However, having said that, they do have a good fixture next, which is Newcastle.
they do.
So
Yeah, I think if you're on Sar now, he's very likely to pick up a return next week. After that, there's some tricky fixtures, but to get 20 points from this game, you're laughing, really, aren't you? I think
you
from
are, yeah.
from the Norwich side, the only player I think of any real ownership is probably Billy Gilmore. Started again this week, got himself tackle tier 2. It's not a bad 5 point return from a very cheap enabler midfielder in a honestly a pretty poor Norwich side. So if Gilmore's going to do that consistently, you'll take that and run, won't you?
Yeah. Do you have Gilmore on one of your teams?
No, I did consider him
You know,
very early
you
on.
speak about him a lot, so I was just wondering if you
Yeah,
had him
I
still. Yeah.
considered him in both, but I ended up going Ismail Assar in my B team, and then trying to spread the funds a little bit more because I've gambled on Matip, so I didn't essentially need the money. But yeah, I
I see.
think Gilmore. over maybe a Damari Gray, was an option. But I think the captaincy choice has really swung with who I went in midfield.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, moving on then to a game that was quite surprising and one that probably pissed a lot of people off, given we needed the Everton coverage last week. After DCL was injured, people maybe moved to, an Everton defender or Richarlison. Some even started with Pickford. Turns out DCL, Richarlison, and Pickford are now all injured for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks. Aston Villa 3, Everton 0.
Yeah, a lot of people screwed over with this one.
They did.
Yeah, the names you just mentioned all missing out. Even the likes of Gray, who's been impressive recently,
got nothing.
didn't do anything. Townsend didn't do anything.
Nope.
Doucouré did okay. He got 6 tackles and picked up, obviously, tackle tier 2.
Yeah. And your man Allen got himself, a 4-pointer?
Yeah, he got tackle tier, which I was pleased to see. But yeah, not a very strong performance from Everton, and I guess maybe you can put it down to the team selection.
Yeah, and I think in Sky it's something we're becoming familiar with seeing, each week when we do this. But Aston Villa, once again, nobody in that team hitting tiers.
No, no one really close either. Maybe like Louise on the tackles with 3 tackles, but the majority of that team's not even close. I remember I had Mings at the start of the season, and I think he got passing tier, maybe even both tiers. But in a 3-0 win, you'd expect them to maybe have a few more tiers, returns in this.
It just shows how clinical Villa were in taking their chances, because it was 3 shots on target, 3 goals, albeit one was a Luka Digne own goal there. But yeah, Cash, 1 shot, 1 goal. Bailey, 1 shot, 1 goal. It's not bad. You've got Danny Ings and Watkins there, no shots on target, yet they still managed to win a 3-0.
Yeah, and I think that's credit to Villa, really. It'd be interesting to see them when they've got Watkins and Ings and Bailey all sort of on the pitch at the same time, linking up. Maybe then we'll see a bit more dominance in terms of possession and passing. That'd be good to see.
Yeah, for sure. Right, moving on to Sunday games then, and a game that was quite controversial in terms of VAR, but it ended up being Brighton 2, Leicester 1.
Yeah, and it was Vestergaard involved in the controversy, obviously the pen decision. Looked to be a foul. Obviously getting tugged down, which sort of raises his arm in the air to then get hit by the ball. That aside, he clocked up 83 passes, way more than anyone else in the game.
I know, just looking at that, really stands out, doesn't it?
Staggering. Yeah, it does.
Soyuncu didn't even make passing tier 1, and then you got Vestergaard on 83, and he was 1 tackle away from tackle tier 1 as well. So it's unfortunate, and it's not a bad return given you're in a 2-1 defeat there, and it's something to keep an eye on, because I know the likes of, say, Johnny Evans and stuff are slowly coming back to fitness, but you'd probably expect Vestergaard to maybe be the one to miss out, but on the basis of some of these performances, will he? It's going to be a tough decision for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I think he may stay in the team. Looking at the numbers, I don't know if he was just pinging it to Tielemans back and forth, maybe to Pereira as well. Both a high number of passes, but you get a return out of him still in a game like this, so it's not bad.
No, exactly. And then on the
other side, Neil Maupay put the pen away. Very impressive. Yeah. Trossard getting another return.
Yeah.
Been getting quite a lot of returns this season.
So far. He's been pretty decent. And obviously, Danny Welbeck took his goal very well. And I suppose that the 2 players that you're likely to be on for Brighton, Dunk, was a standout option last season. I still think quite a few people have gone with him this season, and many people would have moved to Duffy from Webster. Obviously, it was 0.4 million cheaper. I can't really discredit that decision. You were unlucky because Duffy got given an FPL assist, but Sky don't award those kind of assists, so that was unfortunate. It's obviously from the handball. Other than that, Brighton didn't look particularly great. None of them got anywhere near passing tier, which was surprising, but I think that's the way that Leicester play. They don't really give the centre backs for Brighton much of an opportunity to pass it about. The big decision will be obviously this Crystal Palace game that's coming out.
Yep. Yeah, if anyone's not on any Palace, then you're likely to be looking at Brighton. And I imagine Duncan Duffy or even a Mope you could go for.
Yeah, and I suppose if you run a Webster or a Pickford, not a Webster, Mendy or a Pickford, and both are deemed out again for this weekend, could you go to Sanchez?
Yeah, a very good potential move. Playing okay so far, so I wouldn't tell you no.
No, exactly. All right, and then the game which inevitably featured once again most people's captain, another Man United game, another Ronaldo goal. It was Man United 2, West Ham 1.
Yep, Ronaldo delivering again. Soon we'll have to start calling him the postman. Very, very, very good performance. Could have had more. He had a couple of pen appeals.
He did, yeah.
Both turned down.
Both should have been given, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. So there could have been more returns there. Varane clocking up a monster amount of passes, 87 passes, way more than anyone
I
else.
know that similar to the whole Vestergaard situation. He's far.
Yeah,
He's almost, or he has more than doubled his centre back partner's passing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, Fred's nearly got 70 passes on 69 passes,
Yeah,
which was it's pretty impressive. But yeah, that makes you sort of inclined if you're looking at a United defender to go for him. How comfortably he's reached that there bodes well for the future.
agreed. Yeah, and obviously Ronaldo there with 5 shots, and that's without having any of the pens that he potentially could have had. Obviously got himself man of the match. I think the goal. It's not a bad return there. It's making me question some decisions that I've got in place, for potential moves, because in my head I had maybe planned to go Ronaldo, who plays Saturday, to then Kane, who plays Sunday, and we'll come on to that because we've got some questions. But to see Ronaldo with that many shots, and for him to already be such a talisman for this Man United squad, just makes me question whether it's the right move, even with the daisy chain.
See, I'd be inclined to say it isn't.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of Ronaldo.
Yeah,
Like,
likewise.
I think there's potentially better ways of getting that coverage for those games. And is Kane really going to go off the way he's been playing recently? Potentially not.
I know it's tricky. It's tricky, but we've got 2 or 3 questions, I think, of people asking similar, so we can debate that at the end there.
Yeah,
Again, for West Ham, I think a few of us have gone Ben Rama early on. I know I've gone for him in my A team, and despite the conversations that were going on early on, saying Ben Rama's going to miss out, a few people might have even taken him out. Turns out he trained on Saturday, played on Sunday, and yeah, a wicked deflection off of Varane, but you'll take the 8-pointer with a goal there.
Oh, you will. I was quite influenced quite heavily by those sort of new rumors in the week, and to the point where I was contemplating taking him out of my Sky team. And I'd have been kicking myself, to be honest. Obviously, seeing him to then play and score
Mm.
to waste a transfer on that would have really pissed me off. So I think that's an advocate there, just to make sure you leave a decision to the latest possible moment, have all the information you can, be it press conferences, training photos,
Yep.
and then sort of do it on the day if you can.
Agreed. And yeah, obviously with this one, you got to see both the Brighton and Man United team sheets, I believe. So because they were kicked off at the same time, so there wasn't really a decision to be made if he was in the squad. You obviously start with him. Talking about Harry Kane, then we'll move on to what was quite a resounding defeat in the end. It was Spurs 0, Chelsea 3.
Yeah, very good win for Chelsea. Um, a day for the Chelsea centre backs
Yeah,
with great performances from both Rudiger and Thiago Silva and Christensen as well defensively. Not reflected in the game, of course, but yeah, shot tier for both the defenders and a goal each as well.
I know. Yeah, honestly, I'm on the double up of Chelsea defenders in both my
Are
teams.
you?
Yeah,
Are you?
I've got Rudiger and Aspilicueta in
Did
both
not know
teams.
that. Very nice.
But I have seen people with four. There was one guy I
Whoa.
think on Twitter that had either four or five. And I mean, you're looking at an absolute monster hole in this just from those defenders alone. So it was Silva, Rudiger, Christensen,
Oh,
Aspilicueta.
that is Phil.
I think he had Dan James as well. Not Dan James, Reece James, who obviously didn't feature. But if you're getting 3 or 4 clean sheets and returns each week from those Chelsea centre backs, you're laughing, and it's paying off. And a lot of people will be looking to load up on Chelsea in the coming weeks with their fixture, like the fixture swing. If you're already on 2 or 3, I think you're a bit of an advantage. And it even covers the rotation there because that guy there, for instance, has covered the fact that, yeah, Reece James might not play occasionally, but he's got Aspie, who, if Reece James isn't playing, Aspilicueta is usually moved out to the right wing. And if he is playing, Aspilicueta often takes the likes of Silva or Christensen spot. So it's there's coverage there. And yeah, Chelsea just looks so good at the back.
Yeah, very good. And Alonso doing the business again as well. It's worth mentioning. An assist, a clean sheet. Very good going forward, obviously, as Alonso. So, yeah, just Chelsea across the pitch. You're looking to get players in.
You really are. And obviously on Spurs' side, the talk of the town is that this Harry Kane move, and I think he looked very isolated against Chelsea, albeit it's Chelsea at the end of the day. They're probably one of the favourites to win the league. It might be a different game against Arsenal in the North London derby. It could potentially kickstart his season, but yeah, 21 passes, one shot, and it was a shot from way out that was a really easy save for Kepa. If it wasn't for Hugo Lloris, with 6 saves in this game, it could have been even more for Chelsea.
Oh yeah, I was very disappointed with Spurs in this game. I'm on Højbjerg in one of my teams, and I was actually
You
spent
were
the last
so
five
unlucky.
spent the last 5 minutes counting his passes.
Mate, honestly, 3 passes
Three
away
away.
from passing tier 1 and one
Uh,
tackle from tackle tier 1. You were
I
incredibly
was
unlucky
fuming.
there.
I was eagerly awaiting a tackle or counting the passes, but they just weren't. He just wasn't getting the ball or wasn't
No,
passing accurately. But there you go.
exactly. And a player that I think a lot of people may be looking to bring in for the daisy chain move is Lukaku. Obviously didn't get return in this game, but I was impressed with how greedy he was trying to be towards the end because he clearly wanted that goal. In spite of the fact that he maybe had better options, his sole intention was to get himself into a position to shoot. And against the lesser teams, that can only be a good thing.
So I kind of thought the opposite. There was a spell where he kept passing it. He kept like putting he put Werner through a couple of times, and I was wishing he just shot.
I think when Werner came on,
Um,
it was almost as if he felt sorry for him and he was trying to get him a goal.
yeah, he's putting in some great balls, and I was like fucking fuming with Werner because obviously that would have been an assist
Mm-hmm.
for Lukaku.
There was
But
one in particular where he should have put it away.
yeah, but looked very good in the game. I wouldn't go off the stats. So in terms of the eye test, Lukaku passed it with ease.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Should we quickly jump on to how we did on our teams then this week?
Yeah, let's do it. So in team one for me, which was my worst team beginning of the week, but due to how well it did, it's now my better team.
Okay.
Meslier in goal with 10, Cancelo on 11, Christensen on 7, Van Dijk on 10, Benrahma on 8, Allen on 4, Sarr on 20, which I was obviously delighted with. Gallagher, the only one low scoring on 2, and then a front three of Salah 30, Ronaldo 10, and Jamie Vardy on 14.
Decent.
126 points. Loving life.
It's not bad at all, is it?
Yeah, and the other team got 90, which was let down really due to
You had 3 or 4 missing,
Richarlison,
didn't you?
the double Wolves. Yeah, had someone, I think Trent missing as well. That's sort of what let me down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it just shows how quickly things can turn in Sky. Because I know obviously last week you were a bit down about the fact that one team was way behind the other and whatnot, and then suddenly it switched.
Yeah, it was way back. It was like 15 or 17K, and now it's 6K in like a week.
Exactly.
So
Honestly, it just shows
yeah,
how early on I wouldn't even judge ranks at the moment. There's no point.
Yeah, and people were spunking transfers left,
God,
right,
yeah,
centre.
yeah,
So
exactly. That's the big thing. For me, I got 116 points in my main team. That's up to 804th. And then in my B team, 129 points, mainly down to the fact that I've got Ismaila Sarr, for instance. Rafinha was captain, Salah, Ronaldo captaincy, and then I've got Rudiger, Diaz, and Azpilicueta at the back there. So that's pretty decent returns, and that managed to jump that team up again. I think that was about 7.5k at one point. It's now 3.5, so it's a decent return. Looking ahead to the fixtures next week, then, mate. Obviously, we've got the single on the Monday, which is inevitably, I think, we're both probably going to be captaining Gallagher, aren't we? Because we've both brought him in for that Palace fixture. However, on the Saturday, I think it could be quite split. What way are you looking?
for me, it's between Ronaldo and Salah. I'm thinking Ronaldo.
I'm thinking the
Due
same, purely because you
because of
get
the
to see
home
that.
fixture
Yeah, the home
and the
fixture.
team sheet.
Yeah,
And the team sheet.
the team sheet is the big thing in this, and I think initially it wasn't down to be the 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, the Chelsea Man City game was 12:30, but I believe there's a gig going on in Manchester later in the evening. So at the police's request, they brought the Man United fixture forward to 12:30 as well. So this is probably one of the only times you'll see it. But there's two 12:30 kickoffs on a Saturday, and Man United just so happen to be one of them. So yeah, I think Ronaldo for me will be captain on the basis of it's the home fixture. Even though I think Salah could potentially return better, given I thought Villa were particularly impressive against Everton. But yeah, the team sheet makes all the difference, and you never know. Salah could be rested against Brentford. You just don't know. The Sunday is the hardest one. Now, I think we've both got coverage already. Are you likely to move to Harry Kane though?
Probably not. You may have gathered that from what I was saying earlier,
Mm.
but I've not been impressed with what I've been seeing. One of my teams, I do need actual coverage. I don't have any of the teams featured, and that's in my better team now. So, who I'm going to move to, I'm not sure. I'll be tempted by Wolves players. I'll be tempted by maybe a Højbjerg or someone else for Spurs, but I'm not really going to downgrade one of my premiums or to get a high profile player. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm in two minds honestly. This one side of me says Kane's shit. He's not doing very well. I mean, Kane isn't shit, but he's not performing well this season.
I'm going to
We
quote that.
we've saw how well he's performed for England. You know, he's scored goals already in the qualifiers, but it's just not clicking for Spurs. And whether that's to do with the tactics, whether he's like you said feeling a bit down about the whole Man City saga this summer, I just don't know. But there's something about Kane and the North London derby in the back of my mind. Kane has scored 11 times in the North London derby. He scored the most goals out of any player in this one fixture. I would be more annoyed with myself if I chose to not go with Harry Kane and he holes than I would be to captain him and he does nothing.
That sentence right there means you're definitely doing
I just,
it.
I know, I feel I have to. That's the only thing. And I don't like feeling like I have to do something, but I just fear that his ownership's going to be so high. People are going to be bringing him in left, right, and centre. People have already started with him. Obviously, haven't really had the returns from him so far, but that just worries me. But I do have Sarr in one team, and I've got Prowsey in the other, so the coverage is there. I've just really got to have a word with myself. And
I think you should ride it out with the players you have.
yeah, I know. The only thing for me is the fact that I would probably, yeah, I'd be taking out either a Salah or a Ronaldo. Now,
Well,
if
that doesn't sound good,
I
does it?
know
Come on.
exactly, but if I was to take out a Salah for Kane, for instance, I'm then missing the Man City game, which I don't think Salah will particularly perform well in. You've then got the international break, and then yes, they feature the 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday against Watford. But I've got Van Dijk, so I think Van Dijk could conceivably cover Salah, whereas nobody can cover Harry Kane. Like you're not looking at Tottenham's defence and thinking, "Oh, you've got 10 pointers there." You're not with no disrespect, you're not talking about Højbjerg in 10, 12 pointers.
You are, mate.
Whereas with that you are, and obviously then Harry Kane again on the 17th of October. I know we're talking post international break now, and just before the daisy chain move to the Arsenal players. Kane's got Newcastle, and then it's an Everton West Ham game. I think conceivably Kane is probably going to be the highest captain player in that game as well. So it might be a case of moving from a Salah to a Kane to then maybe an Arsenal player, or if I decide not to go for an Arsenal asset after that point, I may well just go Kane to Lukaku, for instance, and then maybe look to bring Salah back at some point in the future. It's a tough call.
It is. It is.
Right. Well, let's jump on the questions then. Actually, first thing, we did a poll in. This is an interesting one because I put the poll out this morning. One for Sky FF players, something that we will inevitably talk about in the pod. Will you own Harry Kane this weekend when Spurs go to Arsenal? I don't know if you've seen the results of this, mate, but it's fairly unanimous. And
Really?
well, yeah. So 14% already own him, which didn't really surprise me. 21% say that they'll bring him in. So you're talking, what, 35%? 65% they say they're going to avoid.
Hey, there you go.
I know. Honestly, it's... But then that pushes me a little bit more because I'm like, well, what? So Harry Kane's going to be a differential? Like, it's frustrating. But
2-pointer, mate.
It probably will be, honestly. And I'll be furious, but fuck it. All right, we got a few questions in then. So I'll pick some of the best ones. Question in from Dempsey. So James Ward-Prowse is in my team, ready for captaincy next Sunday, but hasn't been remotely close to any tiers in the past few weeks. Is he a long-term hold, or has something changed this season? So obviously you were at the game. What was it about Saints that maybe made you Prowse didn't get anywhere near passing or tackles?
I think a lot of the play was going down the wings,
Mm.
which would mean that he's not getting as involved, like it was going through sort of Livramento, Manto, and Elianusi. But I think overall, Prowsey's a good player to have in your team, like a long-term hold. Like obviously, he's not going to lose those set pieces. He's got
No,
his on pens. He would have had a pen. He should
exactly.
have had a pen.
Yep.
Um, Free
Agreed.
kicks as well. He's excellent at free kicks, and he is capable of getting assists as well as obviously the tiers as well in the game. I think you should just keep him long term,
Yeah.
unless Saints are going for a real rough spell. I think he's a good player to have in your team.
Yep. Questioning them from FPL Glasto. So he's saying Rafinha to a Brighton asset for the Monday game. I have none, and I've got 9.2 million to play with.
Oh, I'm not sure about that one. But
I
I don't.
know.
I don't think Rafinha ahead of their good fixture run is a good idea to take him out. I'd imagine there's potentially better moves you could make to get onto a Brighton or Palace player
Agreed,
than
yeah.
taking Rafinha out.
And you're not going to be spending 9.2 million. And also with Rafinha, I'm pretty sure, I mean, without looking at the fixtures, I'm pretty sure you also need Leeds coverage for a captaincy day later in October. So if you are taking Rafinha out, are you then going to be needing Leeds coverage for that future game? So I'd maybe reassess that, mate. And does it need to be a Brighton asset? Can it be Gallagher as a cheap, midfield budget enabler? Maybe have a little look at the data there.
Yeah.
Questioning from FPL Ream. So if Mendy is injured, is it worth getting Ramsdale in now against Spurs plus coverage for the 2 single game days?
I mean, if you're not already on an Arsenal player, then that is a potentially good move. I think we mentioned that earlier with the goalkeepers being out, then you could move on to a Ramsdale. And the only concern I guess I would have is Chelsea have looked quite good defensively so far.
Yeah.
So you could save your transfer and just wait for Mendy to be back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long he is actually out for, but I don't think it's too long.
Exactly. And then, yeah, I think with that, you're well worth noting it because, yeah, if Mendy misses out this weekend and Ramsdale is obviously the one that you move to, are you really expecting, say, 10 points from Ramsdale from that North London derby, or is it very likely to be maybe a 2-4 pointer? If so, it's probably worth holding Mendy with the hope that he then plays in the next game, and then you get the benefit of the Arsenal team sheet for those single game days. So if Ramsdale is in and you're still set on that, then you can move to Ramsdale. But if you're not, you've still got the option of moving to another Arsenal player from someone else. I honestly don't think Mendy is worth getting rid of. If you own Pickford, I'd maybe say different. But with Mendy, I think it's very much a case of I'd prefer Mendy long term than moving to Ramsdale to then potentially move back to Mendy. It's 2 transfers. I don't know if it's worth it without seeing that team sheet.
Yeah, I think over the course of that fixture on the next 6 or whatever for Chelsea versus Ramsdale, I think Mendy will get more points.
Agreed, yeah. Shout out to the likes of, Sean Robertson was what to do with Mendy. Kippy also mentions about getting Kane in. FPL Buddy's got a question about if Rafinha is injured, which is a better move, Sarr or Gallagher?
I mean, the coverage, if you don't have the coverage, then Gallagher. If you do have the coverage anyway, then yes, Sarr, I think might be a good option.
Agreed, yeah. There's I love it when there's conversations that take place within the question thread. There's conversations between Tom, FPL Dad, and then I think Lee Williams was in there. So, obviously all regular listeners. It's great to see them having a bit of conversation. And then final question in from Ryan Fitzsimmons. Jordan Pickford replacements.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Obviously Ramsdale, but do we know if he's going to nail his place? Obviously, it'd be good cover for the captaincies. If you can wait a week, you could still go to Mendy. That might be a good option. I think, despite obviously this week, I think Sarr is still a good goalkeeper to have in this game due to save tiers, and they've still got decent fixtures. So one bad game shouldn't necessarily put you off him.
No.
What about yourself?
I think you've probably named all the ones I might mention. The other one, I suppose he's likely to already have coverage, but if he doesn't, Sanchez, for that Brighton Crystal Palace game, I think he's worth moving to. Usually picks up at least save tier anyway. And yeah, I think that there are plenty of options. It's just what is your plan for both single game days and long term? I think that's something to consider. All right. I think that's a great place to finish the podcast then, mate. It's another Sky weekend full of decisions, which I don't like making, but gonna have to do them one way or another. So yeah, as always, good luck, everybody. It's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.